Shot?
You can be. You can make it into the shot.
Sponsor.
We got a sponsor.
Is this another angle?
Yeah, just one like another angle, just for sake and shit.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Things like that. And
Hope it's not too much.
Logitech Pro. Bro, I've done some recording. I recorded like an amazing podcast and it didn't get the microphone.
No, are you serious?
The MacBook Pro. And that's like,
Yeah,
so you know how like you have like poker games where you want to like jump off the top of a building because you lost so much? Like, have you ever had one of those?
Yeah. Similar.
Well, let's pretend you did.
No,
I've had moments like that, and I swear to God, like having podcasts, recording podcasts, and not, having it the way I thought I wanted
Dude,
it.
I would be more annoyed at the recording a podcast or filming a video, losing that footage than losing money. Yeah,
Absolutely, because you lose just so much fucking time. Money you can gain back, but time you don't get back at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the exact same way.
All right.
Cool. Are we rocking and rolling?
Are we done? Is that good on there? Just want to make sure real quick if that's good. Everything's good. Everything's recording on that.
Yeah, I think you're good.
It says 2 mics on there. Cool.
All right, I'm pulling this a little bit closer. Hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah. We're good. All right. So, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to the ShiftEQ podcast with Alan K. Today we have, our first live interview in the studio, as well as having my boy, who is a fellow Viet content creator. He is the face of a YouTube channel with over 500,000 subscribers. He was a senior ops manager with companies like Amazon and other big bet realtors. He currently lives in the LA area. He's building a talent agency and working on his own content. He's an active face on UDI with 6 million subs and Life Reels with over 250,000 subs. Damn, it's a lot of fucking people, man. Well, welcome, guys, and Ken Do Champ. Thank you so much for being here today, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan. Man, that is quite an introduction. I really appreciate that.
Well, I mean, when you have one hell of a resume, how do I not, introduce everything on here? And but let's just get into this, man, because I'm talking about all these subs, all these subscribers, all these impressions. As someone who is a content creator, I know that's really vague, and there's a lot of people that define themselves as being a content creator. But for you, what does that mean?
So I think that the number one thing for me is I just like to make videos. To be honest, I like to tell stories, and so for me, getting into any type of media, it's always been about telling a story. I think I love to tell narratives. I love to just kind of record myself with my friends doing fun things and piecing things together in a really, really fun, constructive way to have, I would say, not only a good narrative, but also something that can be inspiring for the average viewer to kind of help them with small problems here and there. And that's what I'm trying to create with my content pretty much, is to kind of go out there, have fun with my friends. I grabbed the clip before we came on the podcast, and then piece it together so that it also has a good I would say a good monologue, a good reason as to why I'm recording, not just recording for fun, but also having a good motivational ending. That's kind of what I like to do. Yeah. Okay. So for me, that's what content. That's the type of content I like to create. Anyways. Yeah.
Okay. So was it always like this? Was it always hey, I'm going to create something motivational, inspirational, or how did this whole process start for you?
Oh man. So it started a few years back, right? Out of high school, I used to work in film and TV, actually. So initially I got into a lot of, I was working on sets. I wanted to be a film producer, a film director, which is still something I want to do. But I worked for this company that essentially would do outsourcing work. So working for the company, they would literally go on Craigslist. They would look for other forms of work, and they would send us out to operate cameras and stuff like that. And we had responded to an ad on Craigslist where they wanted us to essentially just act as a camera operator for them. And it was for this YouTube channel. I remember I had always had this love for film and TV, and I was putting in 12, 14 hours a day. And then I was working for these two YouTubers, and I remember, man, they were just having so much fun, And so over here, I'm working, I'm grinding 14 hours. I'm uploading my content onto YouTube, and the views were negligible, to be honest. But I really loved the type of content I was creating. I really loved like the storytelling aspect, getting good shots. I was really proud of the work I was creating. But then when I met these guys who were they were older than me, but at the same time they were just so full of life, and I was like, wow, like I think I'm interested in this content creating world, and so I kind of talked to them. I asked them like, hey, like what do you guys recommend? And they kind of gave me some pointers. I uploaded a video, and I think I just forgot about that video. I think it was like maybe a year, or no, not even a year, maybe like 5-6 months later. I was laying in bed with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and out of nowhere my phone just started blowing up. Like I just started getting all these notifications, and it just started going boom 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 boom, like X person subscribed, they liked your video, they commented, and I looked at it, I was like, dang, this video that I made like 6 months back just went viral. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, like this is fun. And so I would say the way that it started off was, for me, I just like to create the content. I obviously do like the storytelling aspect and everything else of it. But initially when it started, dude, I just wanted to have fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I didn't even think about it in terms of money or revenue or anything like that. I just wanted to make videos, to be honest. Yeah.
So you found something that you just genuinely loved. You didn't care about if it made an impression or not. You just focused on pursuing the passion because you just loved it at the core. Is that kind of what you're saying in that dynamic?
100%. And back then, I remember when I started, YouTube was not a career. You know what I mean? Like, I remember like the conversation was always like, can you make money from this? Like it definitely isn't what it is now, where like everybody wants to get into content creation and stuff. Back then it was just, wow, you dropped out of school to do this, and it was seen as silly, even if I had like the impressions. I remember, like friends from high school and stuff would still, some of them would still be like, bro, like, are you going to school too? And it wasn't until like, obviously the channel got a bit larger where like I started pulling in income and stuff like that, where the views started to change. But then also that was when YouTube as a whole started to pick up as like an actual career. People started noticing that there was revenue being pulled in and stuff like that. But yeah, man, initially I just did it from a place of pure love, of passion. I didn't care about a single click. I just wanted to create something that I thought was funny, to be honest. That's literally what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Right. So when you started creating content, when you started putting all these things together, what would you say that the majority of your content was based about?
So initially, I used to do a lot of pranks and vlogs. So
okay.
So if you think back to like the like that whole prank era back in like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Right out of high school, that's essentially the type of stuff I was creating. Yeah, I was really involved in that area. I also had like a vlog channel. I used to do a lot of lives. There were a couple different live stream platforms that had popped up around that time. I think this is before Twitch really blew off, and I was pretty active on those. I would usually rank pretty high on those. I remember back in the day, but yeah, like primarily pranks and vlogs back in the day, man. Yeah.
So okay, so you started doing pranks and vlogs. Is it kind of like, all right? So I remember back in the day. You remember the MTV show Punk'd?
Yeah.
Is that kind of like what you're doing with regards to pranks and silly things like that?
Pretty much, man. Pretty much, dude. It's so much fun. You know what I mean? Like, just coming up with different scenarios, and I remember at that time, like, no one around me felt safe,
No.
And but I mean, like, in terms of like they never know if like I was gonna pull some type of prank or something like that, and so definitely it was kind of similar to Punk'd. A bit more, I would say, personal, right? Because obviously I didn't have like this huge camera crew or anything like that. It was always just me and my camera, or me and my camera guy at that time, setting up all these shots and stuff like that, going out and filming. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun, man.
Okay, so you started making pranks, you started doing the fun stuff, and then nobody felt comfortable around you. I think that's comical as hell. Like, God damn it, Ken's around. We got to fucking be on our P's and Q's and make sure he doesn't do something with us. So, but you said that was about like 2015, 2014. Yeah. So for what you create now, is it still surrounded around pranks? Is it still surrounded around those kind of jokes? Or like, can you kind of talk about how it's kind of the evolution of what you create now?
So I took a break in content creating after about like a year and a half
Okay.
of creating content. The channel did really, really well. For personal reasons, I took a break and I kind of focused on a few other things. Recently, I've been wanting to get back. Well, recently I've gotten back into it. So I started hanging out with friends. I started hitting people up. Moved back out to the LA area and just started filming stuff. And I would say primarily not. I still do like pranks and stuff, but when I say like pranks, it's more of vlog style. Like I would say I used to do pranks and vlogs. Now I would definitely say I primarily focus on like vlogs, and I do pranks as well. And by pranks I mean like, I just mess around with my friends. Things like the other day I threw like a rave in my bathroom, for instance.
Okay.
Like for instance, like my friends would come over and one by one, I would just have them all line up in the bathroom, and then as the next person comes, I'd be like, hey, help me out with something in the closet, because my closet's inside of the bathroom, so I'd be like, oh, help me out. So as soon as they open the door, we would just have like music and lights, and then like those streamers pop up, and just the most ridiculous things.
Right.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, but primarily that's what I would say that I'm doing now. That's like the evolution, because I just looked at what I was doing back then. I looked at the fun moments of it and like where I really wanted my content to be about, and I just said, you know what, this time around, as I'm entering into this phase of my life, I am very happy with like kind of like the things that I've achieved, but I'm also really happy with just the people that I have around me, and I want to highlight that, and also just like my journey that I'm currently going through right now, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, can you kind of go into that? Because one of the things that I do admire about the talks that we've had up into this is how much you admire the people that are around you. You never like take the credit for yourself. You always like make it about your team. Why is your team so valuable to you, and why do you always just kind of put them at the forefront of everything that you do?
I think, man, that's wow. I appreciate you mentioning that. But for me, I think that you have to have like a really good team around you, and you have to give credit where credit is due. Sure, some people might be able to kind of go into hermit mode and just create things on their own. But me, I'm a very social person. I definitely value my relationships a lot. And at any one moment in time, I never think that anything that I've accomplished is just by myself. Because even back then when my channel blew up, I had like my friend Sergio that was filming with me every day. I had a really close friend, Riley, one of my best friends, Vincent, my camera guy, Dan, my ex-girlfriend. Like there were so many people, even like the agency I was working with, there were so many people that, down to like just having like late night conversations with me about like, oh, like what are you gonna do like in terms of like your next video. Like there were so many people that you have to give credit for, and it's just, I would say it's really, it's just not good if you just think that you're this great person that just does it all on their own, because it's like, no, like, and for me also, like I just think that I think that karma is definitely like a very real thing, and if someone helps you out with something, like you should definitely draw light to it. I mean, not even just for karma, just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. That's like the whole teamwork makes the dream work.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so I feel like that's like one of the more important things about content creation is not only are you getting inspired from the conversations that you have with other people, but you observe enough to know where, hey, this is actually what people want. This is actually what people respond to. Yeah. So when it comes to like creating content, like what are things that you look for to say, hey, you know what, this is a really good topic, or this is a really good segue for me to create something that's visual, audible, something that I could project? Like what are those elements that inspire you to create something?
Oh man. So right now, man, I'm so into creating content with a purpose, so like TikTok, YouTube, everything is so loud nowadays. Instagram, it's just, everything's just so loud, and like there is definitely good content that exists out there. It's there's definitely so much talent out there. And as I'm getting into the space again, I want to make sure that like my content is not only engaging, but also that it has like a very implemented purpose into it, and so that's probably like the number one thing, is that like if I go out and I just notice that there's like a certain story that can be told, like I want to tell that story. That's kind of what gets me riled up right now. Like that gets me excited, is just being able to to kind of create something with a with a purpose. I mean, I feel like I said that like 2 times already.
No, but that's what, it's really important that you're talking about purpose, because in this day of content creation, in this day where YouTube channels are exploding, everybody cares about followers, impressions, and things like that. I see there's a distinction of 2 different kinds of content creators. You have one that are like, how do I get views? How do I create clicks and clickbait? And how do I make these impressions so I make money out of it? But you keep emphasizing purpose. And I actually enjoy the fact that you keep emphasizing purpose and creating value, because I think by default, when you focus on the person that you're trying to reach out to, and when you're focusing on providing them something that they can gain, that's when it's organic. It's going to naturally just build. So
I agree. Yeah.
I do appreciate that about you. So let's say I am a brand new content creator, right? Let's say I'm just on this, my God, I want to get on my own YouTube channel and stuff. I don't know where that voice came from, but let's say that's what I want to do, right? So what are some things that you would guide people to gravitate towards? Like, let's say like I'm just like Mr. Nobody. I want to be a content creator. Like, how could I be successful as a content creator starting from scratch?
Well, I think the first thing is to like identify like what you want to get into it for, right? Like if you want to do it for fun versus if you want to like make money off of it. Because if you want to make money off of it, there's tons of content out there that's already like emphasizing like how you can make money off just making like a YouTube channel or like a TikTok page. So if that's like the route that you want to go, it's almost down to like a science now, with like wanting to grow with like followers and stuff like that. But if you want to create like genuine content that you like, that also can do very well, I would say, put a focus on that first. Do your research. Take a look at like what some of the other channels that are in your field, and use them as an inspiration, and kind of create content that's similar, but make it your own. I think that's really important, because it's definitely like there's so much stuff out there. Originality is 100%. I think preferred by the average viewer. If you can come up with something original, I think that's really important.
Definitely. Originality is huge. Real quickly, I don't know if you're paying attention to how technology is going, but with regards to content creation, I just saw something recently about how there's these now
ChatGPT.
Well, yes!
Oh my gosh, dude, that stuff is wild. Yeah,
yes.
It's wild. Yeah.
So real quickly, I'm going to make it brief, and definitely feel free to add on to it.
I'm so surprised by it right now. It's like such an interesting field.
Right. So real quick, for listeners, that guys don't know what's going on, and please correct me and intervene when necessary. Pretty much going on the technology of AI. Now you can just create, hey, I want to create something that says this, and that. I want it to be of this length. And now this AI generator will just create like an entire piece of content for you, even like up to like a book. And just based off of some inputs, and it's not even you that does it, it's this AI. How do you feel like that's going to change the era of content creating?
Man, dude, like, not just content creating, just so many things in general, right? Like, it's just so wild. Like, you can have it create a whole movie script for you. You can have it create a whole book for you.
I'm giving up on this. I'm giving up on this in entirety. It does, right.
Okay, so hang on for a second.
Yeah, no, keep going, please.
Dude, I just saw it. Like, I was really into it. Like, just last night, I was like doing some research on it. I think that like more. As of right now, like more like face to camera, just like script reading type content can easily be replicated by the AI, right? Because you can literally have it generate a script for you, and then you can read the script, and there's AI that actually adjusts there's AI that actually adjusts your eyes. So as you're reading the script, let's say the camera's like right in front of you, like right here. As you're reading the script on this side to the right, it'll adjust your eyes so that it makes it look like you're staring directly at the screen. Wow. Or it'll take your whole face and like move it towards it's. So more content based like that, I would say 100%. It's like it can be replicated now. Like, they can create like whole universities off this thing, dude. Like it's insane, right?
Yeah.
They can have like all these classes with these AI, with this art of, with all these like, what do you call them? Like avatars and stuff, like reading stuff, teaching you things. But there's always like, obviously there's always like the personality factor of things, right? I think that, like there's certain realms of entertainment that can't be replicated, such as like sports and certain things like where, conversational, man, I don't know, maybe, I mean, maybe in the future we're gonna have AI sports too.
I
Jeez,
think
I don't know.
so. You know, speaking of which, funny real thing, full disclosure. So I remember during COVID when no sports were going on,
Yeah.
me and one of my buddies actually, we had NBA 2K. We simulated a game and wagered money on it because there was no sports that was going other than like baseball in Korea, I think.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we literally put we picked 2 teams, simulated it, and we were literally putting bets while the simulation was going on NBA 2K. But I can only imagine that we're not really far away from that being like active sports, you know?
That's true, you know? Yeah, so I think, man, dude, I don't know what the future is going to hold in regards to that. I mean, but just in general, like the question is just in every field, you know, in every field, like robotics taking over already. That's always been a conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about AI and content creation?
I feel like we're already in a day and age where everything is an impression, and we're not really in touch with reality in the way that I grew up with what reality is. And I think just the more artificial we get into this world, the more we're kind of allowing impressions to dictate everything more than it is to actually be present with our reality. Like the more that we have things that kind of simulate and stimulate a conversation, the more it kind of takes away from the depth of a real conversation, because now you're having filler words and other people kind of filling in that void for you instead of making it up on your own. And I think in my experience of the more automation you have, the less in-depthful and appreciation you have of that said entity. So, for example, we talked about this earlier. I was a nuclear engineer in the Navy, right?
Right.
And I got trained on what we call a Type 1 microprocessor. So you had to understand how the plant responded based off of switches, based off of pressures and temperatures, and you had to actually be an operator. They, after me, installed in what we call Type 2, and it automated everything with regards to how it just does everything for you. And what I found out is that the operators were nowhere near as knowledgeable as the one that got trained on the previous platform in the previous generation. And so it's interesting where, yes, we're getting more and more automated. Yes, we're having more efficiency in these evolutions, but it's taken away the human factor of a lot of things. And I feel like that's actually what provides depth, actually what provides value, is having the human experience and being present with everything. And the more that we take that away, the more that we're just not even making our own decisions anymore.
Man, yeah, no, I can definitely resonate with that feeling as well. I just, dude, it's just so, there's just a whole nother world out there with AI, and like who knows like where things can go. But I think you can't live in fear. I think you have to focus on like what's in front of you right now, and work to create like the empire that you can, everything that you can right now. You should prepare, obviously. We should obviously be keeping in mind, like, certain things might be coming in the future. But at the same time, like, you still got to grind. You still got to work hard, like, not just kind of give up. Like, that's literally the worst thing that you can do.
Right, right. So let's see, just talk about, like, bring it back and see what's right in front of you. So one of the things that we're kind of talking about in the content that you're kind of creating right now, things that are right in front of you, are the dating things that we're talking about, right? The girlfriend things. I know that's not exactly all that you do, but it's one of the things that really interests me because it does get a lot of views on one of the channels that you work on. So for you, what do you think is it about those things where you kind of put your girlfriend or spouse in a situation? Like, what do you think is it about that draws people in?
So I think, it's always been like human nature, right? Like we're just interested in any type of content that kind of perceives life in a I would say in like a I guess the best way to think about it is before the internet we would always watch like television, right? And we'd fall in love with like the different storylines that are created on like sitcoms and stuff like that. And so now that there's the advent of like the internet, a lot of that has just kind of moved over. And the cool thing about it is that a lot of these situations are the good and the bad thing is that a lot of it is real life, right? And so you're not just watching like a fictional story going on. You're now watching like an actual couple interact. You're now actually watching like, you know, two best friends go on this adventure. And it's not just like a buddy comedy from like the 90s. It's a real life situation. They're actually going to Vegas. Let's see what actually happens. So it's a good thing in the sense of you get to see like almost like a reality version of it, but it's also bad because sometimes, you know, sometimes like relationships can get ruined by like the internet, you know, and things like that. Even friendships, close situations. So I think that, you know, it's definitely like a good and a bad thing as well.
Yeah. It's really interesting because you're right. You bring reality to reality and it, like, you know what I mean? And I know that's a weird way to put it. But there's situations where, like, you know, you have a friend that's a little bit more successful than you, and then all of a sudden you see your girl being drawn to him, or you see a situation where it's like, you know,
that's a bad girlfriend then.
Yeah, but you know, but the thing is, I feel like there's a lot of just human elements that go with that, and I guess for you, what are some of the things that you've learned while creating these content and creating these scenarios?
In terms of what? Like in terms of just like some things that I've just learned with just making videos in general?
Well, no, how about like just about like how people, like for example, like, cause like when I see like a lot of the videos where like guys have a successful friend, right, that offers, like I saw one in particular where they went like miniature golfing, I think, or something like that. And the guy has like a C8 Corvette and he's like offers her a job and the whole 9 yards. And I see, like, I saw from the beginning too. Oh, she's attracted to him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But I see that all the time. And I guess from your experience creating these kind of things, do you see a lot more promiscuity, or do you see a lot more loyalty? Like in your experience, what is like the basic impression that you're getting from these situations that you're creating?
So, I mean, not even just like the situations, just like even when I started like my YouTube channel, I would say like early on, like I think I'd mentioned this, is that I had friends that were kind of like, hey, are you going to school? Even you know, even like once things had like started to do a little bit better, I remembered like just like friends, you know, like old friends from high school, people that I would reach out, which was great. But then there were people who would reach out that I hadn't talked to in a very long time. You know what I mean? So as like my channel had blown up, when it first hit like I think 100,000 subscribers, and I posted like an Instagram photo, I started getting like all these like messages and stuff like that. And I remember just getting like some messages from people that definitely I wasn't very close to, just asking to hang out and stuff like that. And you know, definitely at the same time, like I understand, you know what I mean? I understand that like people want to gravitate towards what they deem as success, right? And towards what they deem as something that can help out their life. So I would say for me, like I just kind of learned in that instance to kind of keep those who I really value close to me, and kind of, and I think it's really important to always maintain those relationships. So like, for instance, one person that I really valued that reached out to me during that time, who wasn't with me in the very beginning, was my camera guy Dan now, who I've known for the last who I've been working with for the last like 7 years in different areas. But he reached out to me. He was one of those people that reached out. But I remember like we'd known each other since middle school. There were a lot of situations where we had really good conversations and stuff, and he asked like, hey man, like if you need help with anything, can I help you out? And so I said, yeah, like let's meet up, let's hang out. And I'm really happy that I had that that we had that connection, because we have now gravitated towards starting other businesses and so many other things together. And when I got back into making videos in particular, he was the first one that was just so solidly on board with wanting to help me out. So I think like the number one thing is to always just make sure you keep people around you who have like the right intentions and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's really interesting, because I agree with you. I feel like the more that you kind of level up as a person, the more that people that knew I don't want to say a lesser version of you, but a less aspirational version of you would be like, oh, I remember when he was like this and this way. What is it about him that has him excelling? What is it about him that I want to gravitate towards? But I feel like it's really important and imperative to make sure that the people that you decide to keep around and decide that you bring in are there for the right reasons. Just kind of what you said, because in my experience, right, and in my experience of what you're talking about, sometimes when you get better, people just want to use you so that they could figure out how to make themselves better rather than actually, contributing and actually making a better version of you while making a better version of them. For you, how do you manage to keep the right people around you? Like, what are some characteristics that you look into?
So I'm really friendly just in general with like everyone. Like that's like the number one thing is that I really like I always like to see the good in people in general. So like literally if there's like a random person on the street that I can strike up a conversation with, like we'll start chatting, or if a person who recognizes me from any video, like I'll always stop and really get involved in like conversations, or just I would say I'm pretty easygoing overall. So that's like the number one thing. So it's not, there's definitely not even if someone comes up with me like with like the intention of wanting to use me, or maybe they have like that type of personality trait, I would say I'm still really friendly. I'm still really good at least keeping things on at least like a very basic level, because I really just enjoy I really just enjoy kind of maintaining like positive relationships and positive vibes. I think that's like number one for me, is that like even if I notice that someone has the intention of like using me, I don't just like shut them off and like never talk to them again. I'll definitely I'll bring it to their attention. You know what I mean? I'll bring it to their attention, but I'll let them know like, hey, if you still like, let's just say I become friends with someone and I can kind of tell that they actively want to get involved in like a certain thing that I'm in, or they keep asking me for money, or maybe like there's like something where I can kind of tell that they're trying to utilize me in some scenario. Maybe I might help them out, or maybe I'll let them know, hey, like that's not like where I thought the direction of this friendship was going, or this relationship was going. But I will, I definitely still want to keep things open. And if that's something that you still want to, kind of go down that route, or that's what you're trying to look to use me for. I don't say it like this, obviously,
right?
But I kind of like, I kind of like put it out there, like, if that's something they're trying to use me for, then obviously like that's a situation where, I'm not going to be very comfortable with, but, I still try to keep things as friendly as possible. Man, I don't even know if that sense even makes sense.
No, it does. It does.
Do you kind of, yeah, that's kind of, I always just, I guess like the number one thing is, I am very good at paying attention if someone is trying to like use me, right? But I always try to, I think the number one thing is try to make people better. So I don't just shut someone off. I will try to let them know like, hey, why do you want to use me? And then if anything, I'll let them know like, hey, instead of asking me for money, what if you do this? Like that's like my number one thing is like I always try to help people grow, I would say. I think that's like the number one thing is I don't like to just like annihilate relationships or just burn bridges. If I can help someone grow, that's like the number one thing that I want to do, even if it takes a little bit more time out of my day. I think that's like the really important thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems like regardless of how people show up, regardless of what situation is presented to you, you just kind of keep to yourself and this is who I am regardless, and you don't let anything or anyone affect that per se.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that's definitely an accurate statement. I definitely am. I mean, I'm just me. I'm unapologetically me. I just have fun. I focus on what I need to do, and definitely don't let anything get in the way of that. Yeah.
Have you always been really self-confident in yourself, or has it kind of been something that you kind of learned over time?
Oh man, I have to give so much credit to my parents. I think that's like the number one thing. I have really, really great parents who have always really been there for me. Who have always, they're the type of parents where, my dad would, I always thought that I could do anything because my dad would always tell me like, you can do anything, at the same time, like, I think that I definitely went through like a lot of life situations growing up that, where I had to develop like the confidence and stuff like that as well. So there were like a lot of situations where I would say there are definitely a lot of things that aligned up for me to kind of, be the way that I am. Yeah. But
okay.
I like I said, it's not, I think that it's just really important that, that you don't try to like shun people out of your life. Exactly. Like if you can, obviously, cause there's a situation where like, maybe like it's a dangerous situation or something that like is going to greatly impact your life. Yeah. Maybe it's better to step away. But if there's a situation where you can help someone grow instead of just shutting them off, like I think you should always like look at that option, because, if you're the other person, right. Instead of someone just kind of pushing you out, like if they can kind of tell you like, hey, I'm gonna help you grow. I think that's always a lot more valuable than just feeling shunned out. You know?
Yeah. I think it's really important that like you're. Oh man, you said. Oh, I love what you're saying here because, because I feel at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't intentionally trying to use people. I don't think people are intentionally have any ill intent.
That's what I'm saying too. I think that a lot of times it's like, why is someone like let's just say like why is someone reaching out? It's because they're just trying to better their life, because in the way that they know how to, right? Like in the way that they know how to, so that they can build like a successful career for themselves, so they can take care of their family. So it's always good to understand, but but then still, like, it's just you have to look at things from both sides. I think that's really important.
Man, really important. Yeah, because you have to look at things from both sides because, like, someone might be coming up to you, oh, I need money, or you could see that they're trying to angle. But if you would maybe understand just kind of what you said, you give them the space to express why they needed that money, why they are perceivably using you, then it's like, then you can actually get to a better root of the problem. Show a little bit of empathy, show a little bit of compassion, and instead of being so quick to cut people out, like I feel like today that's all everybody's doing, like cut them out. Oh, F this, F that, leave them alone. It's like, wait a minute, everybody's on their own journey, everybody's on their own path, and unless you know exactly where they're coming from, and even if you know where they're coming from, you still don't know what's going on in their head or what's even having them show up in the way that they do. And we can look at things from a very solipsistic view. In other words, you can just look at it from your own impression, or you can sit down and be like, wait a minute, yeah, this kind of is upsetting me, yeah, this kind of feel like it's making me use, but maybe you can take that moment to figure out what is it about that situation where you feel like you're being used, or what do you think it is about that situation that got them to that point where they're even potentially using you to get to there. There's a lot to be gained in that, and I definitely feel like we can learn so much more if we take that approach. If we, like you just said, see it from all angles rather than just cut them all out, be like this, I got to be honest with you, man. That's one of the things that I'm working on a regular basis, is to do that.
Are you cutting people out, like, or are you like in situation? Well, because like one thing I do notice is like you lost a lot of weight, right? Like in the past like few years, and so I'm assuming like I remember we talked about something as simple as your dating life is probably tremendously different in the past 5 years, right?
Yeah. So what I've learned about so if I were to take a really just an objective view of look at Alan that was 175 pounds and look at Alan that's competing. Yeah. Alan at 175 pounds was treating Alan like that because I didn't think highly of myself, and I didn't think I was actually made to do better things or actually go after higher aspirations. And it showed up not only in my weight, but also in the way that my friends treated me. It also showed in the way that I allowed them to treat me and allow everybody else to treat me, and as well as because, in my opinion, who you are as a person at that point, and especially your friends, is just a reflection of your own view. In other words, at that time, because I didn't think highly of myself, I had a group of friends that like viewed me as lesser. Like, and so, for example, I'm not going to get too far into this, but you know how like the whole Asian thing, like kind of like how we've been stereotyped to be lesser than of kind of people, like, oh, you're just Asian, so therefore you're kind of like lesser of a human being.
Right, the positive quality about you is that you're smart, right? Yeah,
right, or that you're just a stereotype, or you're just a label, And I noticed that I would go into certain social situations and go, oh, that's because I'm Asian, or that's kind of like this, kind of objectifying myself into a lower version. And I noticed that a lot of the people I had around me treated me like that because I was allowing them to do so, and I was also doing that to myself. And then one of the biggest changes that I made is when I started like, no, you're not going to treat me like I'm an Asian person. I'm Alan. You're going to treat me like who I am. Yeah. It kind of rubbed people the wrong way because they were used to just kind of objectifying me. And that's kind of what our relationship was built off of. And it's no fault to anyone. It's just what I projected out in the world and what I allowed to happen. And so by default, it's interesting the transformation on when you start viewing yourself as a person, when you start viewing yourself outside of a label. Some people don't know how to handle that. because some people, and this is just kind of, I think one of the crazier things that I've learned, and this is no negative thing, right? Again, one of the things you got to just realize, not everybody has their own intention. Some people's confidence and some people's measure of who they are is reflective of who they have around themselves. And when and I realized certain friends that I had around me, their security was built off of me making myself lesser, by default they're better, and it kind of made them more confident around me. But then when I started investing into myself, I started, making better decisions with my fitness, making better decisions with my finances, making other better decisions. Because they reflected their friendship off of what I was doing, and now all of a sudden held them accountable to make better decisions themselves. You had some people that were inspired by it, and some other people that were like getting mad at me for it, because then it made them have to like take accountability for the things that they were neglecting themselves. And it's crazy. Originally, like a year ago, I was getting upset, like, why the fuck why are you getting so mad at me for making better versions of myself, blah, blah, blah. But then I kind of realized how a little bit more compassionate, a little bit more empathy, kind of looked at everything like, oh, because you're not used to being held accountable for your own action. You haven't had a moment where a friend is excelling in their life, and now you got to watch what you start eating. Now you got to start making better decisions,
Right, yeah.
And like drinking is a perfect example, right? So obviously when you compete, you can't be drinking as much because, it's a lot of health, but a lot of our culture is based off of drinking. And so one thing I noticed, like when you go out in a social setting, like, hey, what are you going to drink? I'm like, I'm not going to drink. Like, oh, you're not drinking. Weird. Because I feel like inherently people associate drinking with some type of level of being irresponsible. And if we can kind of all be irresponsible together, then it's okay. And then when I realized, like when I said, hell no, I'm not drinking, they'll be like, why do you think you're better than me? Like, whoa, that's not what I think at all.
That's not what you're trying to push. It's that you're just watching out for your own health right now, right? Or that it's not even about your health. It's just that you just want to prepare yourself for the show. Yeah. So, yeah, I think your approach was pretty good. I mean, are you still friends with those people to this day?
I have a love for them. Right. But the understanding that I have of the situation now, originally started as really animus, like, oh, kind of what we talked about earlier. I'm going to cut you off. Do all that. Now I'm like, oh, I kind of understand it now. But it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just, people change, and what I've realized, like, I don't have the same friends from elementary school that I have the same friends from high school, same friends from the Navy, same friends from poker, same friends from everything. And I've just realized, like, it's not really that I've cut them off or anything. It's just, I've changed and different circle. And it's not really that people cut off or not, For you, has that kind of been the same, or did you always kind of had your same inner circle?
No, I mean, as you grow through life, obviously, like, things change. You'll have different friends depending on like what you're into. Like, so if you are obviously more into fitness now, like your circle of people that are gonna change because you're going to the gym more. Things like that are obviously gonna change. So I think that, especially when you're younger, it can be kind of daunting. Like, wow, like when you hit like college, you're like, oh, I used to hang out with this friend all the time in middle school, and now I don't see them as much. And for a while, like, it can definitely be something that kind of fucks with you a little bit. But in reality, it's just it's the circle of life. And I think you should always try to have like, or hold on to like some of the closest people that you have to you. But it's just life. Things are gonna change. I think it's always good, especially with social media and stuff now, to maintain like those relationships. Kind of just have them there, reach out to them, check up on them, and then if they're ever in town or something, like why not hang out with them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not I think you're just lying to yourself if you're like saying like I have 300 active friends that I see every week, because you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we all have like a small circle of friends that we see on an active basis, and then you can be friendly, you can have a lot of friends, but you don't have 1,000 close personal friends. I think that's a lie. Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate your time on this. Any other closing statements, words you want to bring up? Anything?
No, man. No, this is definitely a lot of fun. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm glad. Thank you for letting me be the first podcast live.
Yeah. This is actually I really appreciate this. Seriously, it's awesome. But all right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for this. What's social media handles? Anything people could follow you on or contact you?
It's just Can Do Champ. So that's KenDuChamp. On all social media platforms.
Outstanding.
Cool,
All right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoy this episode. And for more, follow the ShiftEQ podcast with Alan K. Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I like just like spitting these random things out there.
Keep going. It's good. It's good.
But all right, guys. I hope you guys have a great week. And deuce. Cool, man.
Cool, man. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah. I don't know.
Was the camera dying?
It was overeating.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Yeah, I was gonna tell you, like, if it happens, shut it off a little bit.
I forgot to turn off my ice maker when we were on there. I was like, fuck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, but it's all good. It's phones.